This is the video Introduction to Music Reading, and this is information that you either learned at your first piano lesson or you will be learning at your first piano lesson, depending on when you're watching this. I use a whiteboard. I find this the easiest way to present the material. This is what I use at the lesson, and I know there's more advanced ways you could do this, but I just find this the quickest and easiest way to cover a lot of material. You can watch this as much as you need to and memorize these terms as you go. So, all right, let's start with basic music reading. Music is, you have notes, first of all. Notes can be black, they can be white, they can just be round like that, they can have a stem. We call this the head of a note. This is called the stem of the note. Sometimes you can add a flag to it. Sometimes you connect notes together like this. All of these are just considered different types of notes. And you will learn about these in a little bit more detail in the basic rhythm video that you watch. So, but all these different colors, or whether they have a stem or a flag or connect together, have to do with how long you hold the notes for. And we'll learn about that a little bit later. But those are notes. Notes are written on the staff. 5 lines and 4 spaces is called, well, on which music is written, is called the staff. So when you take 5 lines and 4 spaces, that's the staff. You can put a note on here. Now, if I put a note on this line right here, that means that line is going through the note. We call that a line note. This is a line note. It doesn't matter if it's white or black, or if it has a stem or does not have a stem. If a line is going through the middle of the note, it's considered a line note. If there is no line going through the note and it's resting between the 2 lines, it's considered a space note. So that's a space note. This is a space note. This is a space note. Yeah. As long as there's not a line going through it, it's considered a space note. Now, all of these are different types of notes that are written on the staff. The higher the note is on the staff, the higher you'll play it on the piano. The lower the note is on the staff, the lower it is on the piano. And you'll learn as we go that this is a specific note. And this has a specific key on the piano which you press. And we'll learn that as we go. So that's kind of the way it looks to start with. So now let's build our grand staff. Okay, that's what we're going to do first. We're going to draw 5 lines and 4 spaces. 3, 4, 5. Then down here we're going to draw 5 more lines. Because in piano we usually have 2 staffs. This staff up here and we put this sign on here, and we call this sign the treble clef. Then down here we put a sign on the bottom that's called the bass clef. And in music, in playing the piano, that's usually what you see. If you've played any other instruments, you've only usually had to learn one clef sign. But when you take the treble clef, you put on the 5 lines and 4 spaces. We call this the treble clef staff. We put the bass clef down here. We call this the bass clef staff. You'll see in your music a little wiggly line over here called a bracket that kind of connects these 2. And then you'll have lines that connect down through the staff. Like that. At the end of a piece, you always have 2 lines. We call these lines bar lines. This is a bar line. And you can have more than 1 bar line, of course, in the piece. This is a very small example. But all of these are bar lines. And at the end of the piece, you have what's called a double bar line. The purpose of these bar lines are to divide your piece into measures. This is called a measure. From this space here to this space here is a measure. This is a measure. And this is a measure. Yeah. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 measures on this staff that I've drawn here. Now the reason we have measures is because at the beginning of a piece of music, we normally have 2 numbers. 4, 4, and you would have them down here right after the clef sign down here. also. What we look at there is that top number that tells us how many beats or how many counts are going to be in each one of these measures. The bottom number we'll talk about a little bit later. So, in this case, there are going to be 4 beats in each measure. Now, you don't have to have a 4 there. It could be a 3/4 time signature. But now, whatever's on the treble clef staff, it's going to be the same usually on the bass clef staff. So you've got 3/4 time signature and 3/4 time signature down here. That means there's going to be 3 beats in each one of these measures. Okay, so that's basically how we build our staff. Now let's build that one more time. I'm going to spread it out a little bit, and we're going to add some of the notes to it. So if we build our 5 lines and 4 spaces, there's our staff. Then we're going to build our bass clef staff. 5 lines and 4 spaces. I'm going to put my bass clef down here, so this is actually a bass clef staff. I'm going to put my treble clef right here, so we're at the treble clef staff. I'm going to put, for now, 4/4 time signature. And I'm just going to make maybe 3 measures. So that would be the first measure from the beginning of the piece to the bar line. Then we'd have a second measure, which is a measure is basically just a space between 2 bar lines. And then we'd have our third measure, and at the end of this is the end of the piece, so we'll call this a double bar line. Get rid of these. So now we have a staff, a grand staff, with 4/4 time signature, and we have 3 measures. The first note that you're going to learn is actually would be considered a line note. It's underneath the treble clef, and it's going to have just a little bitty line, and it's going to go right through the middle of that note, and we call that middle C. This is middle C. And it's written as just a round. Now I could write that middle C again over here. I could write it as with the stem on it. It's still middle C because there's a little line going through it. Now, if I drew a note right up here close to this line with no line on it, that is not middle C because there's no line going through the middle of it. It has to have the line going through the middle of it. Now, on the bass clef, if I go above the bass clef staff and I draw a little line and I draw a C, that is also middle C because the line's going through it. And we do call it middle C because you'll learn that there are a lot of C's on the piano, but there's only one middle C. These are actually the same note. In the bass clef staff, the middle C is above the staff with a little line through it. Treble clef, it's below the staff with a line through it. It's the same note on the piano. You'll learn that at your lesson. The difference between these two notes is that since this one is closer to the treble clef, it's played with the right hand. Since this one is closer to the bass clef, it's played with the left hand. The left hand generally plays the bass clef, and the right hand generally plays the treble clef. At least it's that way when you start out. So that's what middle C is on the piano. As you can see, this note here goes up a little bit. It's above middle C, and then we can go up even further. Doesn't really matter if these stems are on it or not, but we can go up a little higher, and that first line is going of the treble clef staff. The bottom line is going through that note, so that actually goes up another step. You can see the notes are going up. This is the C, this is a D, and this is an E, and you'll learn that as we go through your lessons. And now in the bass clef here, if we have our middle C because the line's going through it, we could have a B because that goes down. That's C. This is B, and this is A. And don't worry about memorizing all these. You'll learn these as we start playing them. But you can see this is how it works. C, D, E. If we kept going up, it would be F, G. You know, and music stops at G. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then it starts over again at A. Here's your A on the bass clef. If you go up just a little bit, you've got your B, and you go up a little more, it's C. And these are all played with the left hand. So that's your basic introduction to how music's written on a staff. And now you'll need to also watch the Basic Rhythm A video, because the Basic Rhythm A will just go into the details about what the time signature means and why these notes are different colors and some have stems and how to count them. So that is your introduction to music reading.